as offering sacrificial offerings to powers of darkness on this particular night. Humans would burn, would be thrown into fires, babies would be sacrificed.
Hello, Cornstarchy. You know, this is the last video I'm gonna do on you, and I can't but help reminisce on the past month and the time we've spent together. I'm gonna miss you, Carol Cornsnatchy.
I will remember you. Will you remember me? Don't let your life pass you by. Weep not.
Oh.
Traveling through to another dimension, a dimension of not only paranoia and delusion, but of idiocy. A journey into a wondrous land whose boundaries are that of pure ignorance. Your next stop, the batshit crazy zone.
Bonfires, you hear the expression bonfires, really came from the word bone fires, as offering sacrificial offerings to powers of darkness on this particular night. Humans would burn, would be thrown into fires, babies would be sacrificed.
Actually, Carol, the term bonfire comes from the 15th century. It comes from Middle English for bane fire, or late 15th century. It doesn't go back to the time of the Druids. It goes to the 15th century, when a lot of heretics were burned at the stake. It probably came from a fire that was large enough and hot enough to burn a heretic to their bones. And most heretics were considered to be in league with the devil, considered to be witches.
When you look at some of the decorations that we put around their house, you have to wonder the root and the purpose. Let's look at this one, for example. Ghouls.
That really rough cut right there was not on my end. That's on the video's end.
And this jack-o'-lantern with a cute little smiling face. And it all looks so innocent and cute, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
But that's not the root. Where this came from. Just because you change the faces, it doesn't change where it came from and what it really represents. But it's got to be made cute to draw you and your children in. The little ghosts on each side represent the evil wandering spirits. They're ghouls.
No, they represent ghosts.
Who were demanded to give a virgin child. And yet we hang these things up as they come from a dark past because they look cute.
No, nobody was demanded to give a virgin child. I don't know what history book you're reading from. You're probably reading from the history book of Bill Schnoebelen or Chick Tracts. But no, there were no virgin sacrifices done during the time of the Druids. Those are representation of ghosts, the traditional way that we view ghosts.
It is believed, and many will hang up the black cat. Many times they'll hang up the black cat. And they think, now please, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't mean that black cats aren't nice. Because cats and dogs and animals, Halloween, the eve of Samhain, the celebration, black cats were said by practicing witches as the years passed down and the celebration was kept, that they were elusive, and because of their dark color, they represented evil. It was believed that the spirits could inhabit the black cats. And a lot of practicing witches, not all, wanted to have one.
You're putting way too much symbolism onto that. Black cats are considered to be evil through Christian superstition more than anything else. And so somehow they got associated with the Halloween season.
It was believed that the spirits could get in the black cat and communicate through this elusive black animal. It was also believed with the bonfires and the burning of human flesh on the 31st as sacrifices,
Yeah, they didn't just burn heretics on Halloween night, Carol Cornsnatchy. Pretty much any time any Christian feared for their life and accused somebody of being a witch, and then they were put on trial and tortured, and once they confessed to being in league with the devil, they were then burnt or hung in the gallows. Doesn't have anything to do with the Druids.
That if you would go out to where bones were from the dead, and you would sit close to them, or save them, or lie on graves, you could absorb power. And so skeletons became very popular.
Carol Cornholy, I don't know where you're getting, I guess you're again getting this from Bill Schnoblin? No, there is no association with bones and lying on graves or anything like that in witchcraft. There are idiots out there who believe that they can go out to a graveyard and they believe that there's some kind of power in bones, and those people are misled. Those people are under a serious delusion. It is a time for respecting and revering the dead. Why would you want to go and disturb them? Why would you want to do anything to bother people around this time of the year?
When I was a practicing witch, Halloween was the most top day for me and for many others like me to go to the graveyards and to lie on graves. Many times, even today, the graves have been broken into. People looking for bones. They've absolutely erupted, and you'll find and read in your newspaper reports where graveyards have been dug up, bones have been taken out, absolutely desecrating human remains.
All right, Carol Cornsnatchy. So I did a search for grave robberies, and it took me a little while, but I did find one article from 2007. The article reads, police think the robbers who took Imani, who was a young child who died early, may have practiced spiritual rituals associated with a belief system called Palo Mayombe, which developed in Cuba among African slaves and survives to this day, Conklin said. People who practice these types of rituals, we believe, thought there was some mystical power to this baby who was not supposed to have lived even days after her birth, Conklin said. Our theory is that this baby was particularly sought after because of those qualities. The rituals hope to transfer some of those powers. Tommy Kail is a Tennessee author, an educator who has studied what he calls magico-religious activity. He spoke to Stanford police about their case and is consulted by other departments about similar cases. Kail cautioned against jumping to any conclusions about a grave robbery. A disturbed grave alone, he said, is not an indication of magico-religious activity, he said. Historically, many of the incidents involving grave thefts are done by those who aren't involved in actual magico-religious cultures. Individuals who roll their own, take elements from established religions, and create their own subcultures. Bones used in African-based religious traditions are used to represent ancestors, he said. But most bones used in Palo Mayombe are obtained through legal means, said Kail, who wrote A Cop's Guide to Occult Investigations and Magico-Religious Groups and Ritualistic Activities, a guide for first responders. Though disturbing, not every grave robbery is linked to rituals or the occult. A link to this article is below. All right, Carol, I'll give you this one because there has been recorded activity of grave robberies. However, it is not an epidemic. It is not something that happens very frequently. It is actually a very rare occurrence. And again, if you are practicing what you believe to be some sort of a spiritual practice and you are committing crimes and breaking the law, well, you're going to suffer the consequences for breaking the law.
Because it was believed that the skeleton of a human had power. And so today we decorate with skeletons, thinking that it's cute and interesting.
No, I can't speak for all witches. I think that once the body falls, it is an empty vessel. It is a carcass. It just rots and it goes into the earth. The spirit is what lives on. So the bones have no power in them. There's no power in the bones. There's no power in the flesh. The power, whatever is the essence or the soul or the spirit of a human being, leaves it upon death. But to me, it's an empty vessel.
Bats that are supposed to be dark and elusive. Everything pointed toward evil.
Anything that is creepy or crawly or scary is put on a decoration for Halloween to try and scare people.
Death. All coming from the root of a celebration that literally belongs to Satan.
No, again, Carol, it is a reverence for death. It is an understanding, it is an acceptance, it is a remembrance. It's not a day celebrating death. It's not worshiping death. It's just an understanding and remembering of those who have passed before us. A time of storytelling and bonfires and having fun and meals and enjoying the company of the living and remembering those who have passed before.
So many people have thought about the witches as very cute too, and hung up witches' pictures in their house and say, well, what's wrong with that? As a practicing witch, I was taught when you wore a pointed hat, it was referred to as the cone of power.
Carol, you really need to go back. Whoever taught you or what you read or whatever, you need to go back and read it again because you're wrong. I don't know how else to say it, Carol. You don't know what you're talking about. There's a couple of different theories about the witches' conical hats. The links will be below. It has been postulated the use of conical hats to denote witches might have stemmed from an exaggerated form of hennies, a type of cone-shaped headdress commonly worn during the Middle Ages. Though the hennin was indicative of the noble status of the female wearer, its popularity during the religiously uncertain era of the Middle Ages and the ease with which women were accused or convicted of witchcraft by either jealous women or angry men during this time makes it not unlikely to presume this might have been when the conical hat becomes associated with witchcraft. And from another article, it is possible that the witch's hat is an exaggeration of the tall conical dunce's hat that was popular in the royal courts of the 15th century, or the tall but blunt-topped hats worn by Puritans and the Welsh. No matter what the fashion, pointed hats were frowned upon by the church, which associated points with the horns of the devil. Brimless conical hats have long been associated with male wizards and magicians. Goya painted witches with such hats. It is possible that an artist somewhere along the way added a brim to make the hats more appropriate for women. One theory holds that the stereotypical witch's hat came into being in Victorian times or around the turn of the century in illustrations of children's fairy tales. The tall, black conical hat and the ugly crone became readily identifiable symbols of wickedness to be feared by children.
This cone of power indicated that the wearer operated in sorcery and incantations and spells. It was believed that throughout the year you did spells and incantations. However, on the eve of Samhain, the new year, it was a time when the power was very strong, and that if you did certain spells, it was the most powerful holy day of the year to witches. Well in advance, preparations were made. What seems to be one of the most popular things is the witch on the broom. And you see it and it looks so innocent. She's sitting on a broom with a spooky face, but what does it really mean? This is actual footage of witches.
Oh my, and they're running around a circle on brooms. Won't anyone please think of the children? I hope you called the police.
Who practice witchcraft on the eve of Samhain. It is the day when they literally draw the pentagram.
Where they literally draw the pentagram.
Take broomsticks, as you see in this cute little innocent picture, and ride around on the innards of the pentagram. It is considered a high sexual worship day. It is considered an increased time of use of drugs. It is also, what it actually demonstrates here as you look at this, is spirit travel. It is believed that witches could go from one place to another by astral projection. And so they would ride brooms. But the fact of the matter is, it is meant for evil. This is not cute, ladies and gentlemen.
Aw, it is cute.
This is a representation whose roots are in Satanism. This is nothing that God honors or wants in your home.
Wow, this video is really cut up.
What an in that Satan gets into the homes. When we know, Jesus said when you didn't know, it was our responsible. When you dress your babies up on that night and hand them that candy bag, telling yourself it's all right, it's no big thing, I celebrated Halloween, someone might say, and I never became a witch like Carol Kornacki. Well, that's to say, I had sex out of marriage for several years and I didn't get pregnant, so that makes it okay.
That analogy is horrible. Those two things are completely separate. You can celebrate a holiday, a secular holiday such as Halloween, and not become a witch. It doesn't have anything to do with... Why are Christians so obsessed with sex?
The point is, it is a night when doors are open to evil. What should we be doing as Christians?
Enjoying it and going along with it, like we've been doing for hundreds of years.
Having counterfeit parties at the church, trying to appease our children rather than giving them the truth?
You know what, Carol? I don't care what the you do on Halloween. If you want to go and sit in a parking lot and just sit there and complain about all the things going on around you, go ahead and do that. Meanwhile, I'm going to go out and enjoy the holiday and celebrate it how I want to.
What we as Christians need to be doing is ministering to our children so they understand the truth of this holiday.
You haven't been giving them any truth this holiday. That's why I've been responding to this entire video. All you're doing is making up baseless lies, false accusations based in some kind of belief that you are some kind of a witch, where you don't have any understanding of even the most basic tenets of our belief. And you call it by the wrong name. It's not Halloween, it's Samhain. And these two celebrations don't have anything to do with each other anymore. A long time ago, they had similar roots, but those roots are so far apart they are completely two different plants at this point, using the metaphor.
And as hard as it will be in the beginning, if you'll pray and ask God to strengthen you in breaking this thing that you've allowed every year, if you'll sit them down and be honest with them and pray with them and teach them, then great will be their peace because they're taught of the Lord. Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot go through life saying, well, I can't do this to my kids.
Yeah, so where in the Bible does it say that Halloween must not be celebrated? Because I missed that in the Bible.
Who's running the house? You, the adult that God has put in charge, or the children? Well, you don't understand, Carol. What about the candy? We can buy our children candy. See, these are the arguments I get. Well, you don't want to be legalistic. No, I don't think you're being legalistic. What you're being legalistic is being legalistic to sticking to the holiday that is 4,000 years old. That's the legalism of it, not sticking to the Word of God. I can't break this thing because I've been doing it for years. I did it, my brothers and sisters did it, now my kids are going to do it, and we're all fine. That's the legalism, not being able to break it. Well, you don't understand. I don't want to be overly religious. It is the night of celebration to Satan.
No, it's not, Carol. That is the whole point of responding to this video. You are assuming that this celebration is of Satan, and it's not. It is rooted in a pagan past, in Celtic celebrations, but it doesn't have anything to do with your concept of some kind of a Jewish Satan or Jewish adversary.
It is a night of death. It is rooted and grounded in tradition held for centuries. On that night, most, and I don't say all, but most of those practicing witchcraft will be involved in things I cannot explain to you on this program or touch on this program.
If they are, and they're not, but if they are going to suffer the consequences of performing anything that is illegal. But again, there's no evidence of it. Again, you're just trying to disparage and make false claims.
If you're out there and you're watching and you're a practicing witch, you know what I'm saying is true. And sometimes, at times, witches will laugh that Christians will give in to this holiday.
No, they don't laugh at Christians for giving in to the holiday. They laugh at Christians like you who have to make up bullshit lies about us. That's what we laugh about.
You know, finding ways to get around it so that they can appease their children.
What do you think? You think that there's been some kind of a grand conspiracy for the past couple of thousand years where people who wanted to celebrate the pagan celebration of Samhain and the Catholics who wanted to celebrate honoring the various saints and martyrs who have passed, and somehow they sat down to create some kind of a conspiracy so that in the 21st century that kids would run around and collect candy for what purpose? Carol, you are such a idiot.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm standing here today and I'm reaching out for your children, for their hearts, for their minds, for their little souls.
Get away from my children, okay? You're creeping me out.
We've got to come to a place where we're going to say, as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. We wonder why sickness and disease and horrible things get into our homes. We don't know what's up the road when we open ourselves up on the highest holy day that Satan has throughout the year, when every witch and warlock will celebrate and give homage to many deities, evil as they are. Halloween has nothing to do with Jesus Christ. He has no part in it. And I'm telling you today, ladies and gentlemen, as one who came from that, as one who lived that life, who waited for that day, who celebrated it, you can't redeem Halloween. We have to stand, and we have to be honest with ourselves. You're sitting out there and you might be saying, you know, Carol, I didn't know these things. I didn't know what the goblins meant and all the little weird witches with the pointed hats. I didn't know that was the cone of...
All right. Okay, good. So this video's done. Yeah, so follow Carol Corn Snatchy's advice, and if your little one gets sick, chances are there's probably a witch in your neighborhood, especially around Christmas time, and it's all their fault because they're in league with Satan, and you should probably chase that person out of your neighborhood. Better yet, why don't you strap them to a stick and burn them at the stake because they're obviously evil and in league with the devil. Anyhow, thank you so much, and blessed be.